All right, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Just getting everything set up for my folks who are joining on LinkedIn as well too. So we are multi-streaming on Zoom and on LinkedIn. So wherever you're joining us, we appreciate it. And this topic for me is very kind of, I don't know, very much a personal experience. And so I'm really looking forward today of not just talking about all these things that, I think you should do, or I think companies should do, but what I've done and the impact it's had. And if that resonates for many of you out there, what I really think that it can do for most B2B and candidly, even some B2B companies. So as you're joining us, whether it's on the Zoom or you're joining us on LinkedIn, please, what I always find helpful is drop your job title and company. So, that helps me to kind of tailor this to, we're going to have a little bit more tactical or more strategic conversation. We've got 20 or so folks here on Zoom, and we've got more and more adding. So again, job title, company. There's also usually a lot of really good networking that happens in this as well too. Like we've got a lot of people get deals done, etc. So definitely want to encourage everyone. Matt, what's going on, Matt? I think I hopped in. Appreciated you sharing, by the way. I noticed Matt shared the post this morning. So Matt, I see you. I see what you're up to. I appreciate it. Also, any questions you have around getting active on, social and digital channels, feel free. Let's go, Jared, what's going on? Got director of marketing, some account execs, because again, this is going to be applicable in a different way to some of you account execs. Steven, CRO, great, Steven, good to have you. And I know on LinkedIn too, we've got kind of a really good mix of folks who are kind of tuning in as well. So if you're on LinkedIn, I'll have it up over here. My team's going to be managing it. So if I don't hop in immediately, yes, Sam, Sam is a branding outreach manager. So Sam, we will be recording this. Founder, let's see, Lufthansa subsidiary marketing manager. I love that. Everyone, again, appreciate you joining. So what we're going to talk about today here is we're going to talk about why executives, Ed, what's going on, Ed? Hope Ed's doing great. I haven't talked to you in a minute, man. So I hope you're doing fantastic. Some more AEs, but some other folks in the brand business. We're going to talk about the importance of establishing a digital identity and digital reputation. At the end of it, that's really what a lot of this is about. I think sometimes when people hear the word brand, their head immediately goes to, the Kardashians or to insert favorite, influencer. But the reality is every single one of you, and actually this is a good point. What I want all of you to do is stop watching this. You can still listen to it for the next 10 seconds. I want you to open another tab. I want you to go to Google, and I want you to Google your own name and your company name or whatever that looks like. What's going on? I love how Etienne did a little plug there too. Google your name. Colleen's a chief of staff, so Google your CEO's name and see what comes up. And what you're going to realize is that every single one of you, whether you are brand new in your career, but especially if you're an executive or you've been in business for a long time, you already have a digital presence. You already have a footprint online that we can either choose to take hold of or not. And so I've got some slides here we're going to share you. My wedding registry from 10 years ago. Stephen has the best one so far. The number one result was his wedding registry for 10 years ago. And so just think about that. What happens? You're a CEO of a company. You're somebody who's reaching out, and I want to learn about you. Again, are you creating that footprint? Because what do? You meet someone new, you Google them. Like that's just kind of what we do right now. You go to LinkedIn, you go straight to LinkedIn. So I'm going to jump into it. I've got some slides I'm going to walk you through, but this is going to be a pretty interactive conversation. So I'm going to be monitoring the Q&A. I know a lot of you are sitting there with questions, right? I know a lot of you are like, Jake, I know this is something that I should potentially do. I'm not 100% sure how I should do it. But again, I really do want to encourage all of you to drop your questions in. Do me a favor, team. If people drop questions on LinkedIn, so all my LinkedIn folks, just go ahead and transfer them over to the Q&A, and I'll be watching that as well. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit, like I said, about my kind of personal experience here as we get into this, and talk about how to grow revenue. It's really interesting. My personal journey with creating this digital footprint was, what happened in 2018 in particular. Running a company for 5+ years at that point. Look, we were putting out blog posts every week. We were putting out ebooks quarterly, sometimes more frequently. And it was 2018, I started listening to Gary Vaynerchuk was kind of the start of it. And think what you want about Gary. I had listened to him before and I was like, I can't get into it. But what he was talking about is that, and this is 2018, he was talking about how people are, we are more attracted to people in terms of their presence, et cetera, as opposed to companies. That's why, almost all companies now have very large influencer budgets, right? Because we tend to resonate. And at that time, Gary wasn't talking about LinkedIn. Nobody was talking about LinkedIn, but I kind of saw the parallel. I'm like, man, we put all this time and effort into doing a blog post, and how much interaction do we get? How much interaction do we actually get? And Stephen, yes, the CEOs, we will have the slides here as well too. So happy to help. I just started to think like, well, if nobody's interacting with our blog posts, right? We're not getting a ridiculous amount of downloads. The ebooks, sure, we'll generate 100 or a few hundred downloads, but they weren't really converting to leads. Why? Why was I sitting here as a CEO saying, Scaled, here's from Scaled, here's from Scaled, here's from Scaled. And so I said, I just kind of like thought about the things I was listening and putting in my brain at the time of like, well, it's because people want to hear from people. And even though B2B is slightly more boring than, B2C to many people, myself included most of the time, I just realized like, what's the alternative? And so for all my CEOs out there who are listening to this live or thinking through this, I want you to think about that concept. What do you have to lose? What's the alternative? Your wedding registry, some other random thing. For those of you who don't know me, I think I was supposed to do this part first, but hey, you're on the webinar, so you probably know a little bit about me. Scaled, we've been doing this now for almost 9 years, which is kind of wild. We are really, I would like to think of us as the leader in modern sales strategy and consulting. And really a lot of this LinkedIn work that we're talking about now was really born out of us looking at the way that customers wanted to interact with brands and companies, and saying, okay, look, if you're going to have an outbound strategy or an inbound strategy, your executives being present in channels amplifies all those dollars. And we've kind of, proven that as well too. So we've got a bunch of links. You can go to jakedunlap.com if you want as well too. You can learn more. We've got the podcast there. Big episode of Neil Patel is going live tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. So I gave you some of the initial reasons of, why I think it's important. For me, what happened is I started to come up with this idea of like, okay, instead of me saying Scaled and here's a link, I'm going to start, this is May of 2018. So this is three years ago now. It's kind of crazy to think about. And I said, I'm going to start to have an opinion, right? And the other thing that I did, and I think this is one of the most important points for all of my CEOs out there, aspiring executives, even if you're an account executive, because I know there's a few of you on the call as well. You got to remove your ego from this. It's about finding out what works. It's finding out who your audience is. And I'm going to talk about being smart about what that looks like. But so much of this is your mindset and thinking of posts and thinking of content as data points. When you start putting out content, nobody's listening anyway. Nobody's listening. Your content, look at your marketing team. For a lot of you, go look at how much interaction your marketing team's posts get on LinkedIn and other channels. And then you can click on like, look at who's actually the one liking it. Guess what? It's your employees. So the current strategy for both you and what you're posting as an individual And for what your marketing department is posting is clearly not working for a vast majority of you. Okay. There's a few brands that are doing it better, etc. So let's talk about some of the things that we've learned. So one is this concept of people follow people, not brands, right? And this is becoming more and more, again, as we get used to experiencing brands. Think about this, as we get used to experiencing brands in our consumer life through people, right? How many of you, raise of hands, if you're on LinkedIn, you can put a thumbs up, or if you're on Zoom, you can do the I can't see if you do reaction. How many of you have bought a product in the last year because you saw it on Instagram? I think I literally have a pair of shoes sitting right here from like an ad I saw on Instagram, right? Gerard raised his hand as well too. So the rest of you, Steven raised their hand. My friends, it's not that different than B2B. It's not. Meaning the way that we want to interact with companies, we want to interact with the people. We want to get to know the people, and people will follow people. And the power of the people is so much larger. And so one of the things I want you to think about is not just do people follow people more effectively. Again, go and look at your company LinkedIn page and how much interactions, and then go look at your average frontline employee. All that time, all that work, all that effort, that your average frontline employee gets more interaction than the company page. My friends, the future of B2B is how do I harness it has to start at the top at the exec team. And then how do I harness it? The stat that I love, and you've heard me talk, I've said it a million times. On an average month, SAP posts about 40 times. In that same month, their employees post over, and it's not even number of posts, over 11,000 of their employees post. 40 versus 11,000. That doesn't even include the people that might post 2 or 3 times in a month. And exec teams, right? This is important. You have to set the tone, right? As someone who is a member of the team, people will follow you, etc. All right, so we've got our first questions coming into. So this is great. So I'll start to take some of the questions. Again, I love the Q&A. If you are thinking it, ask it. There's 8 other people. You can even be anonymous if you want. If you're on LinkedIn, you can just DM Becca, or you can DM somebody. Just some stats, right? 45% of execs attribute their reputation to their brand, to the company's brand, right? There's so many different stories here. What happens to a company's stock when something good happens to CEO or bad? Beep. And it's not just Elon Musk. It's not just Jeff Bezos. It's across the board. When a CEO does something well, stock goes up. And it doesn't matter what size company, it's the same, right? Again, more and more organizations here are thinking about this concept, right? But still, if you kind of look at this, this stat here from Domo, 2/3 roughly of CEOs don't have a personal brand. And guess what, my friends? Just from the exercise that I had you all do, 100% of you do have one, right? But for the 66% or 61% here, we're just kind of putting our head in the sand. And we're saying, you know what? I know, but that's for, whatever, etc. So anyway, that is a big thing here. All right. So I'm going to jump in. We've got a question here. I think it's the timely place for it. Does the strategy change if you're a startup versus CEO? What I would say is it actually has a bigger impact in the early stages if you are at an early stage company. And again, the reason is you can it builds a flywheel. When you build your reputation, it makes marketing easier, it makes sales easier, etc. And it takes 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Again, I'll go back to my story. I started to post I don't think I was posting every day from the jump. I think I was posting maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And it wasn't until about, I don't know, maybe 4 months in, people would send me some little notes here or there. I think it was 4 or 5 months in, I got an outreach inbound from a CEO, and the message said, "I don't even know what you do, but I think we need your help." And that ended up turning into a multi-year 6-figure customer. That was in the first 5, 6 months. Since then, we've got tons of stories like that. But again, I just started putting in the work and again, talking about the things that we do, I love sales. I run a sales consulting, so the things are aligned. If you run a marketing technology company, you need to talk about the future of digital marketing. You need to talk about what's happening in the space. You need to be a trusted thought leader. And so, for a lot of you, that's kind of how I think about this. So no, it doesn't matter if you're a big company. I think you can have even more contacts, not new contacts, but you can have even more of an impact whenever you are an earlier stage company, because probably in your niche, you can get more and more traction. So Freddie, I'm going to get to your question, which is about contacts, because your what do you call it? Your assumption is correct. You do need to start to build your network, and I'll get into that here in a sec here. Obviously, like I said before, a CEO's brand, it impacts everything, right? I talked about investors. It impacts your ability to get speaking events, impacts your employees. I can tell you, and again, I'm sure maybe there's some people at Skaled who are like, I think my team knows that. And I think the interesting part is when people, if they know me and they work with me, I am not an influencer 24/7. I'm running a company. I'm in the shit. Right before this, I was on a revenue meeting, right? And before that, I've already been on like 3 or 4 other meetings. So, my employees see that. And I think it helps them to be more bold. It sets a tone for them of like, hey, talk about what we're trying to do. You don't have to be a company mouthpiece and just reshare links. Go have an opinion on whatever it is you want to be an expert on, right? And then again, obviously it attracts customers, and I can tell quite a few stories there. We have to accept, for a lot of you who are CEOs right now, or even if you're in the front lines, the question that I always ask when people are nervous about putting themselves out there digitally, whether it's on LinkedIn or other platforms, is if I said, look, I have a group of VPs of, let's say, operations. Let's say your company sells a tool that is meant for operations leaders. I've got a group of 25, let's say 40 of these people who are going to be in a room for an hour. Do you want to come and speak to them? Most CEOs, again, as you get bigger, maybe, the room's got to be 500 people, but it plays regardless. How many people would have flown across the country to do that talk? Most. Many. LinkedIn is that opportunity every day. Every day, if you are connected to your target audience and you put out content, they will see it. And if they interact with it, it goes out to their network. And so you have to think about this, that the same way that you feel comfortable establishing your brand face-to-face, we need to get equally as comfortable establishing our reputation. And if that word works for you, every time you hear me say brand, insert the word reputation. Because when you go speak face-to-face, why are you doing it? What's the point? What's the point of doing a speaking engagement? It's to increase your reputation within your target market or your audience or your customers or marketing or investors. Every time you put out a piece of content that has that same intent, you're doing the same thing digitally on LinkedIn, or insert other platform if that's where your customers live, and I'll get into that later. So again, for a lot of you, it's just taking the things that you think about when you think about traditional, right? And just saying it's the same strategy digitally. And so if you're having trouble getting over that hurdle, and you're having trouble thinking about, the ego of it, of like, man, if I'm putting myself out there, does that make me look like an influencer? Well, you're comfortable putting yourself out there in front of industry people at an in-person event, which I would argue is way more nerve-wracking for myself and probably 98% of people. But you can do the same thing at a digital channel. And so to me, if you are a CEO or executive, this isn't an or, it's an and, right? Yes, you should be out speaking. Yes, you should be speaking to people in sound bites more frequently as well too. And so again, it's an or. And so again, it's all about positioning. That again, it's about reputation. The sad part, this is the sad part. I put this poll up as soon as we launched this. We had about 942 people. And the main reason that CEOs or execs are not posting more is that they either don't care and don't see value, or they have better things to do. So nearly 7 out of 10 people said they don't see the value or don't care, or they've got better things to do. And what my hope is, as you, for that, this is really for you 70%, and maybe for my 16% about don't know what to say, and maybe for my nervous folks too. So maybe it is for everybody. For many of you out there, again, would you care if it was an in-person event? If you are the CEO or the executive of the company, what better thing do you have to do than to elevate your brand in the industry? That is not marketing's job solely. That is your job. I've talked about this multiple times already, this afternoon. More and more people trust individuals. Therefore, as a CEO's job, it is my job, and this sounds insane. Part of my job is to post on LinkedIn every day. It's a part of my job, right? And now you could say, well, Jake, don't you have people for that or whatever? And it's like, no, like this is speaking to other leaders and doing this is my job. And so I think for a lot of my CEOs out there, we have to move away from a concept that if you are in B2B in particular and some B2C, if your audience is on LinkedIn, and most of your audiences are, it is your job. You have to be the face of the company, traditional and digital. All right. How often? It's interesting, like multiple times a week. Great. That would be fantastic. If you do multiple times a week, fantastic. Once or twice a week, phenomenal, right? It doesn't have to be, the thing is, and also I'm not going to talk too much about mediums. You don't have to do a bunch of videos. Although I will tell you, although videos get less engagement, it's how people remember you, right? I can't imagine like how many people tell me, yeah, Jake, you do those videos on LinkedIn. I'm like, I do like 3 a week, 2 a week, maybe, compared to, all the other posts and polls and things that I do. So you don't have to, be over the top with this, once or twice a week, 50%, 60% of people are, between once or twice and multiple, and again, it takes 30 minutes or so, over time, right? It took me a long time to write posts and I would overthink all of them. And then again, I would just, if I was putting out a post, I'd just say data point. Okay, I'm going to learn. Like put this out there. Okay, what time was it? How long was the post? What'd I say? Oh, okay, that's interesting, right? But I felt like it was my job to get it done. All right, so we've got some questions that are coming in here. And so I'm going to start with, can you comment on the other problem? CEO leadership post a lot, but no common theme and brand purpose or mix of company brand. That's a super one. So thank you, Stephen, for that one. So the key is this: you are not doing your company any favors by resharing posts. So when I say to put that is not putting yourself out there. That's what's already not working. The key is to understand that, again, people don't want to hear about this, and that. They want solutions to problems. They want to get smarter. They want to have fun. They want to be entertained. We live in this kind of edutainment world, and that could be step 3 for you. So you don't have to worry about jumping all the way there in the very beginning. But for many CEOs, it's like, let's say if your company puts out a piece of content about, like a new product launch, instead, could a CEO say something of like, my favorite time as a CEO is talking to 50 customers every month, and over again, and you don't even need to mention your new product name. Over and over again, I see this challenge, and here are the top 3 ways that these folks are handling it. Hope this helps a few people out there. That's the difference. You can take the same content, just make it about adding value versus an ask. Every time you ask someone to click a link, for those of you who joined the webinar, every time I ask you, all of you, and a lot of you who've joined because you saw my post on LinkedIn or something, every time I do a post that has an ask, it underperforms dramatically compared to my other posts where it's give, give, give. And so I think for a lot of CEOs, understand that's the game we're playing. Give, give, give. And then once you've built some credibility, then you can ask every 5 or 10, kind of posts. I don't do it enough. I probably should ask all of you to, join more things. But so for a lot of CEOs, if you're worried about what to put out there, again, what we do and what, our team does, and we've got a few people, is we'll just interview a CEO. We'll just say, hey, tell me about some trends in the space. And then you just turn that into 2 or 3 pieces of content for the week. So you don't have to overthink it. And that's anonymous attendee had a question too. So I'll get into that. It's just how do you come up with a good, not boring or played out content strategy, what to post and when. Don't think about it too much. If you're a CEO, think about the customers that you serve and what would they be interested in that you potentially happen to know a decent amount about, and I think too many people are worried. Maybe they see a post or maybe they saw a post months ago that like seemed similar to something that they were going to say or put out. We have memories that are like this long. Like people don't remember anything. And so don't worry about it. It's about data points. It's about establishing yourself. It's about learning early on. So don't overthink your content strategy. You know your audience. What would make them smarter? That's the basic equation. That is the basic. Who is your audience? What are some things that are kind of related to what we do that would make them smarter, that don't involve me saying xyz.io or insert your company name 24/7? So that's what I want to encourage all of you for your content strategy. Don't overthink it. Post what you know. I can tell, I can have a conversation with someone and then immediately just go put up a poll about it or go put up a post about it. You don't have to overthink it. I don't worry if something's, going to be perfect all the time. So almost all my top posts actually have typos in them. So that might be interesting for a lot of you. So yeah. All right. I'll get to some of these other questions here in a little bit. So again, just some things to just think about here. And then, again, we'll kind of dive deep into the Q&A. Is for most of you, you have something to say. And this number one piece is the hurdle you got to get over. Whether you're 24 or 44 or 64, you know a little bit about something. And so for me, look, I pretty much stay in my lane. I talk about sales, talk a little bit about marketing, talk a little bit about career and leadership, but I just kind of share what I experienced. Like, hey, this is why I got fired multiple times. Hey, this is how I got promoted multiple times. And, what I find is that, it resonates with some people. It might not resonate with other people. So what do you have to say? Again, I think about that equation I gave you. Who is my target audience? And then what do I want to be known for kind of within that audience, right? So we're going to go through these 5 here real quick. Step 1 is just kind of what do you want to be known for? You can shape your brand. You can shape your reputation. Or guess what? It's getting shaped for you. It's your wedding registry from 10 years ago or some other, registry or something. All of you are, like I said, and I've said it 80 times now, is all of you have a digital presence. You have a presence online. And so the key is, what do you want to be known for? I want to be known for someone who provides a mix of both philosophy and where the industry is headed, but also tries to make almost everything I do tactical and something that people can do something about in the next week. That's what I want to be known for, right? I like to have the vision, to talk big picture, but I also love the nitty gritty of building a company, being an entrepreneur, scaling a company, being an ex-sales leader, et cetera. So those are just some things that all of you need to think through. Then the next is, where do your buyers spend your time? I don't care. Look, we're talking about LinkedIn. Look, LinkedIn doesn't pay me to talk about LinkedIn as the best social network of all time. All I can tell you is this: if you are in B2B, LinkedIn is probably a good place for you. Next up, maybe Twitter or YouTube. Okay. You're like, oh my gosh, I'd have to get on video. Yeah, I know. Right? Maybe Clubhouse, right? That's what that little hand is for those of you who don't know. That's Clubhouse. For many of you, Clubhouse is a great place, especially if you don't like video. Maybe YouTube. Clubhouse, I think, is a great place to build your voice, literally. Guest contributed articles, where there are some of the competitive. It's not just all about national. It's not just all, Forbes, Mashable, Business Insider, New York Times. It's about the daily rhythm. That's how you really build audience. You build audience with consistency. And I'm going to get into that here in a second. Right. And so what I like to think about here is that because it's free, LinkedIn can replace, one, the in-person and a lot of the press that your company can get because of these stats. And I think these are absolutely amazing for you, which is, people are asking. These are what people are asking for on LinkedIn, right? They want relevant content. And that doesn't mean a blog post or white paper. How many of you have a tab open that has at least 2 blog posts on it that you're going to read later. Not only that, how many of you remembered where you first clicked it? My friends, we want snackable insights. So when we say relevant content, it doesn't have to be this long drawn out ebook. It can be something that's a little bit more soundbite, right? Again, number 2, this is where professionals come to get that content, right? This is where they come to see it, right? And finally, guess what? If you just start posting regularly, you will be in the top 2% of people putting out content that professionals want to read. The bar is very low. If you start posting every couple times a week, then you're going to be in the top 1-2%. So the strategy for a lot of you to think about is very, very similar. Connect. Okay. It takes, don't worry about it. This is a question we had here. I think this is a question that Freddie had, Freddie Coventry. So Freddie, I'm answering your question now. I told you I'd come back to it. I didn't forget about you. So all of you right now, it's kind of unfortunate. There was a time where you could add 100 new people a day. Now LinkedIn has put a governor on it to where it's 100 new people a week. Fine, it's what it is, right? And let me tell you this, nobody gains momentum on LinkedIn by just putting out posts and hoping and praying. They don't. That's not how you go viral on Instagram. It's not how you go viral. I mean, TikTok has the For You page, but LinkedIn doesn't have any equivalent of For You page. People don't really search a lot of hashtags. So because LinkedIn doesn't really have a hashtag culture, your chances of going viral on LinkedIn are a little harder. Now, your chances of getting some traction are exponentially higher. So LinkedIn, from a pure organic traffic, is the best site on the internet. I'd argue Clubhouse, I think, has got a pretty big opportunity too. So for a lot of you, connect with those 100 people. There's a million ways you can do it. Your team, if you guys know anything about it, you can literally go in and your team can just connect with you. If you go to the mobile app here, for example, you go to the mobile app, you go to my network, you click on my network, it'll just show you like suggestions of, people you may know from Missouri State, people you may know in Austin, Texas, people you may know in the venture capital and private equity world. Okay, well, connect. And boom, I just connected with 4 people. So my point is, curate your audience, that it doesn't, to Freddie's question, every week add 100 new people, because your old audience might not be relevant customers. It might not be who your target audience is today. So connect with 100 buyers or people in your industry. It could be VCs, it could be whoever, people in your ether. Connect with 100. It's going to take you 10 to 15 minutes. You can build out a list in Sales Navigator too, if that's easier for you. Post regularly, 1 to 2 times a week is totally fine for most of you. If you can get up to daily, that's fantastic, but that's it. And then engage. So this one is the toughest one for CEOs, but I can tell you it will have an impact. Even if every morning, you pop on LinkedIn for 10 minutes, you engage with some of the posts that are starting to perform, then you put your post up, you kind of pop back on in 15 or 20 minutes. So we're talking about 15 to 20 minutes worth of time here. It's going to have a massive impact on how quickly you escalate and how quickly, for example, I'll give you a good example here. I saw a poll this morning. I just popped on LinkedIn this morning. Let me see if I can find it here. I saw the poll. The poll was, it was what's a more difficult role, AE or SDR, which is just a silly question. So I said, well, I'm not surprised. This is 5 hours ago. I'm not surprised by the results. One job isn't harder. They're both difficult. And that one post, comment on this post, got 38 likes and 7 comments. So by interacting with people, because then what do those people do? They then go, oh, who is Jake Dunlap? They come to your post. So you don't have to spend a lot of time here. And as a CEO, you're like, oh my God, that can maybe be step 2. Step 1 is just, let's add the people, post. And if I've got time in the morning, engage. So there you go. All right. So next question here. Actually, here, I'll get some of this. So these are some of my stats, just to kind of put it in perspective for you. And this 2 to 3 opportunities doesn't include people. We have people that literally come into the website and put the lead source as Jake's LinkedIn. And this is organic. I'm not reaching out to anybody. So I've done 527 posts this year. I'm slacking this year. Over 8.5 million views. So, we'll probably end the year at probably 12 to 15 million. And we're getting 2 to 3 inbound opportunities per week. And you can imagine the level of intent these people have. It's super, super high intent. And so, for us now, because the flywheels, LinkedIn is, again, what's allowing us to grow and scale and control our own destiny. And so, again, with a lot of you, it took time. It took 3 years. What did I tell you? It took 3 years, okay, to get to this. So don't sit here and be like, well, I only got 5,000 or whatever. Like, cool. Don't worry about it. It takes time. Okay. So next up, again, these to me are the things that kind of matter. Set your goals. What do you want to do here? For me, it's about social visibility and engagement. That then leads to number 4 and to number 2, right? Number 3 is a little bit harder to predict. But for most of you, if you focus on one, if you just focus on give value, I promise you 2 and 4 are going to come. So for most of you, it's just like, man, if I can get interesting content in front of the right people who I care about on a consistent basis, they will come. It's like, what's it? If you build it, they will come. It's the saying, right? So, build a schedule. For me, it's 7:30 a.m. Central almost every morning, almost. Sometimes I'm better or worse. But it's just a part of my job. Even if I'm busy and I don't get to it, it's fine. I'll do my best. Or if I don't have a post like I already wrote at some point, and then be consistent. There's nothing worse than someone who comes in hot and heavy and then you don't hear from them. That's not how you build audience. People, they send me notes like, hey, Jake, I read your posts every day, etc. But just, even if you just post 2 or 3 times a week, most people think you post every day. So that's it. So I want to encourage all of you. So as opposed to all of you joining this isn't like a pitch or whatever. Take a look. We're going to drop in. Maybe we already dropped it a second ago, but we're going to drop a couple of idea. If you want to go ahead and book a free consult here, like our team, we do this all the time. And like, look, if it's helpful, fantastic. Like we give all this shit away for free as is. So, go take a free conversation with our team. I really encourage all of you to do this. The last time we did it, I think we had like 25 people take us up on it. And it's great, right? Because then, you'll be like, oh my gosh, like finally I can get over this hurdle and we can talk through it. Or like you'll have somebody else. So it's not about, what you want to do here. So definitely book time with us. We just dropped a link in the Zoom. We'll drop it on LinkedIn. I really encourage you guys to just do this. Like, it's free value add. I think, if you follow me that, we're not really about the hardcore pitch here. So we'll jump into some Q&A here. So we've got quite a bit of Q&A coming in. Obviously follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm starting to get pretty active on the reels. So if you're looking for some like daily sound bites, I'm dropping 3 or 4 reels a week. YouTube, we're doing a lot of fun new videos on YouTube. And then the podcast, you can go to jakedunlap.com and see all this, but the podcast is pretty amazing. We've got amazing CEOs, leaders, Top Gun pilots sharing their journey to success. So as a CEO, and just so all my CEOs or people out there reading this, they look at this, they go, how can I do this? My friends, it just started, let's be very clear. It just started with LinkedIn.com, Jake Dunlap. Okay. This is 3.5 years later. All right. So do not start with one channel where your buyers primarily exist. Do not worry about having to be all over. This took a lot of time to do this stuff and to launch a podcast. Like, it's just overtime, right? So don't worry about this. Just look at LinkedIn. Okay, that's it. You just focus on one channel to start with for the next 3 months, dominate that channel, and then move on. So, all right. So we're going to get into some Q&A. Let's jump into it. So we had a few more come in. So I'll probably do another like 10 minutes of Q&A here, and then we'll wrap it up. So first is from Elizabeth Ionita. I hope I pronounced that right. Ionita. What recommendations would you have for teams that are undergoing a corporate acquisition merger that is known to the market? The business is asking us to think and perform as one team, but obviously to the market, we are separate entities. This is interesting. I'm assuming that you sell to the same person. And so therefore, I don't worry about anything that's happening with the company. I'm just going to continue to build and nurture relationships with people that I think matter. And honestly, it's not even people I think matter. It's more like just people that could be relevant in my domain. So my thought is what I would probably do in this situation, I wouldn't even think twice about it, because I'm not going to talk about the company anyway. I'm going to talk about relevant insights and trends. And I don't need to then say, and that's why we merged at blah, blah, blah. I can just say, look, as we think about what's happening in 2022, 2023, the insurance industry is consolidating. And what that means is amazing things for you. Here are the top 3 reasons why. Boom. So don't worry about it. It's not about what's happening with your company. It's about the message you want to get out to your customers. All right, Bogdan. Avram said, even with startups, wants to be marketing team to post on LinkedIn on his behalf. No matter the ideas he gives us, people feel the posts are written by someone else. This is a big issue. Yeah. So here's what I would say. You can have people write posts for you. The problem with marketing, and I know I've got some marketing people out there, so please forgive me. I'm not trying to make too sweeping of a generalization, is you always want to put links and promote the company. Not that that's bad, but it is bad when it comes to this. So Bogdan, one of the things that I would do is think about, could you take whatever it is that marketing is going to do and just think about adding value without talking about the company? Guess what? People are already going to go back and look at who the person is. They're going to go back and look at it. So don't worry about it. So that would be my advice there, is that just think, can you take the company name out of it? Instead, can you just say, instead of making me try to click the blog, tell me the top 3 things I'm going to learn. And if I want to go deeper, then guess what? I'll go check it out later. So that's that. All right. Adam Fisher. What's up, Mr. Fisher? We got 2 questions from him on here. Any thoughts on how to be remarkable? I spend more time on Twitter than LinkedIn, and my tweets are aimed at providing value, but breakthrough impact is sorely lacking. I even have video too. Okay. So Twitter is harder to get organic reach. Right? You're competing with a much broader audience that is interested in much different things when they're on Twitter, right? So unless you can stand out, unless you can really think through, different ways to stand out or put yourself in a different, really, really stand out, Twitter is going to be a really tough place for you to break through. You got to have an opinion. On LinkedIn, here's how I'd equate it. On Twitter, to break through, you got to have an opinion. Okay. On LinkedIn, if you even have this much of an opinion, you're already ahead of like 95% of the people who are putting out the same vanilla watered down crap. So my thought is that, if you're not ready to have a true big opinion, Twitter is going to be really tough to break through on. LinkedIn, you can have a pretty decent opinion and it'll really break through. And I'm telling you, when you have a big opinion on LinkedIn, it does really well. So Adam, that's it, is you got to have a big opinion or pick a different module. All right. I know getting started can be slow. This is from anonymous attendee. How can I evaluate if the efforts I'm doing are compounding? Well, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, right? Everything I'm telling you here is, as a business, I want you to think about, this is going to help to drive leads and revenue. I didn't even think about it. I knew in my soul, and this might sound, I don't know, maybe altruistic or something. But again, maybe as Gary Vaynerchuk had brainwashed me or something like that, because it did work. For me, I just thought, what's the alternative? The alternative is I go back to just resharing articles that I already know nobody is engaging with. And even when I just share my thoughts, even if I get 8 people to interact versus 2, it's already doing 4x, 3x better. So I'm probably just going to keep doing that. Now, the key is, how well do you want to do? It's really interesting. A lot of what people tell me, like, well, I don't want to do this type of content, or that type of content isn't quality content. There's a post from last week or someone I got into a comment exchange with. And I was like, well, look, what is good is in the eye of the beholder. People vote with their clicks. People vote with their eyeballs. And so, I might see a post where I'm like, whatever, or like, that's cheesy, or that's, they're really trying there. Who cares? About a year into me posting consistently, I was on a podcast of a gentleman I knew, and he called it out. He said, Jake, when you first started posting, I was really like, ugh, why is he posting all the time? And then, I had some conversations, and now I really get it. And so the question is, if you're adding new people, you're continuing to look at the content, what's working, what's not working. You're being more thoughtful about it. It will work. I promise you. It is impossible for it not to work for you if you're not being smart and you're not iterating and you're not willing to put yourself out there and try new things. So I would say give yourself at least 6 months, at least. So I hope that helps. All right, keep going, everyone. Appreciate you. Let's see. Next, creating brand ambassadorship with your employees. How do you align your people and get them to evangelize the brand? You don't. You don't. And what I mean by that is one of the things that I try to encourage our people to do, and I wish you all would do, if you're listening and you work at Skaled, do more of this. I want all of you to have your own thing, you are all your own people. Skaled is hopefully a very big part of your journey. I want you to talk about what you're passionate about to a target audience. You know, if you're in our marketing department right now, Kaylin, Becca, Brianna, anyone else who's joining for Jeff, whoever's joining for the marketing department, Ricky, let's put out content about what are best practices around content. What are the B2B companies doing? Share your truths. What'd you learn? Hey, we launched this new buyer trend section and it didn't hit the way we wanted it to. Here are 3 things I learned. That's it. Guess what? Then people go, Ricky works at Skaled. He's talking about marketing things. He sounds smart. Who is Skaled? So I really want to encourage my people to evangelize and talk about the things that are in their world that could be relevant to our audience and to audiences that they want to reach. Dina, using LinkedIn to attract investors, same concept. If I'm an investor, do you want to invest in a shiny new toy or some dull old pickup? Now, you know, there's some reasons to invest in the dull pickup too. But Dina, I think, look, it can help you to raise your valuation. You know, I'll give you the best example of this is Gong, right? And I won't get into it. I don't know their exact financials. I have an idea of what their revenue is. Their valuation is the highest multiple I have ever seen, ever, right? From a revenue to what their last round value was. I have a very sneaky, I am pretty confident a big reason was their brand. They have created a loyal, interesting, engaged employee workforce, and they are everywhere. And so what I would say is that if you establish that, you establish a brand and a foothold on LinkedIn or another platform, that helps to raise your valuation. And investors are looking for that because they know once you have a built-in audience, they know you can market new things to that audience. So, you know, I think all this is very applicable to those of you who are looking for investors. All right, let's see what else we got going here. So again, if you're just tuning in, I really want to encourage everyone, make sure, book a time here with our team. Again, we're just going to help you all. So I hope it helps. Last 2 questions, and we're going to wrap up. All right, Colleen, I hadn't thought about posting without talking about the company. Mind blown. Colleen, I hear you. I was the exact same way for a long time. So do not worry about it. I actually tell a story. I'm like, if April of 2018, Jake heard this Jake talk, he would want to punch him. He'd be like, what do you mean there's no call to action? What do you mean you're not trying to book the meeting? And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just not what people respond to today. April 2018, Jake. So don't do it. That's exactly right. So you nailed it. Strategy can include a mix of snackable and also marketing type posts. For me, I just don't see a lot of value in doing the marketing posts. I'll do it to promote an event or something. But again, even in those posts, I add value. It's never this one thing, all marketers, if you're listening right now, all marketers and executives, stop doing a teaser post. It never works. So, hey, we're doing 3 things to know about blah, blah, blah. Tune in. Yuck. In today's world, we want to know what it's about. Hey, tune in. We're going to be talking about this, this, and this. And if you are a blank, you have to be doing this thing. Tune in to learn more. Give value, right? Even there. All right, Ed has the last question. Of course you do, Ed. How do you deal with people that get adversarial with their opinion and advise on how to not let that noise impact consistency? Look, there's an old saying, right? If people are adversarial, that creates conflict. You got to be okay with it. That's the best thing. Look, as a CEO, it's like a CEO who doesn't want to do a Q&A. Well, if you're a great CEO, you just accept doing Q&A with investors, and those things they happen. So, expect it, be okay with it. Don't take it personal. When people comment on my posts or they leave some note about, you know, they don't agree, or Jake, this is blah. It's just a data point. I'll just try to, it depends. If it is adding no value, I just won't respond. If it's someone who's just like, they're just trying to tear me down, I won't respond. If it's someone who I think has a valid counterpoint, I'll probably try to chime in. So that's how I approach it, is don't worry about it. Next up, just that one person who's adversarial. Guess what, my friends? There were another 999 people or 900 or 9,000 people that were into what you said. So you don't let that one person drag you down. So for everyone out there who is a CEO, right? Matt, I'm glad you saw some value here. I love it. Everyone out there who's a CEO, or you're an exec and you're trying to think about, should I get involved? I hope, one, just go talk to our team. The link's there, go talk to them. And we can help to kind of work through some things, and at least, bring your marketing team as well too. And we can, kind of talk to them about some trends. Or two, you now are inspired to go do it yourself. So I want all of you, go out, do one post today. That's my other call to action. Go book time. If it's, something that you want to do, fantastic. Two, go out and put something out there. All right. There's no time like now. There's no such thing as a perfect post.